All right, so Eric, we're here at the Gann Jewish Preschool in Portland, where you work as a security guard. About a month and a half ago, something pretty significant happened here, obviously.
Yeah.
Before we launch into that, tell us a little bit about your background.
I've been doing security for roughly 3.5 years. I started my own company, Bulldog Armed Security, October or November of 2023. Their old security guard was leaving, and so they needed to find somebody else. So I was able to pick this up.
What's the age range of the school here, Eric?
1 to 4-5.
Do you like it here?
Oh, I love it here. Getting this detail has been a dream come true.
Before the incident happened, how was your relationship with the community, with the rabbi?
Oh, it's great. I mean, I'm always being greeted by the parents. All the kids love me. I know all the kids' names. I get along with them great. I do a lot extra type of thing. You know, I come in on Saturday morning to set up the area here for service. I'm always helping them. So, but yeah, I love the community.
Good. What happened here a month and a half ago?
On May 8th, Thursday, at approximately 11:43, I sit in my car facing Vermont and Southwest Capitol Highway. I'm able to monitor the entrance and the exit at the same time. I'm able to see anybody coming up the stairwell from the sidewalk. So I'm there and I see a lime green small hatchback pull into the driveway. And normally that's not a big thing because I do get people that come here to either use it as a turnaround because they missed their spot or they want to see if they can get to Capitol a lot quicker. Plus also we have a lot of deliveries. The Amazon employees that use their own vehicle to do that, they'll drop off stuff. Walmart drops off stuff. So it's not unusual for cars that I don't recognize and haven't seen to come on the property. Not a big deal. So I wasn't in any big hurry to get out there to introduce myself and ask how I could help them. When the green car gets past that dip in the road, if you don't go slow enough, you'll bottom out and you'll scrape. So when he gets past that, next thing I know, he is zipping through the parking lot about 25, 30 miles an hour. It's not a very big parking lot, maybe a couple hundred feet. I consider it an aggressive move because if anybody is coming out of the gate is so wide and so high, you would not be able to see a vehicle coming up. And of course, when you come into the property is full of cars, so you have to go close to the sidewalk so you can bypass the cars and stuff like that.
Just for clarification, if you were driving down a city street by a preschool during the day, you would expect that to see the signs out to say it's 15 miles an hour.
Right.
And he was driving much faster than that through the parking lot.
Yeah, because I didn't even have time to get out of my car and turn on my body camera, and he was already at the exit. Mm-hmm. He then took a right on Southwest Capitol, and then that kind of can run into Vermont Street. So he took a right on Vermont, and the school's video camera, it picks him up coming into the parking lot, sees him go to that certain point that the camera's at, and then it disappears. But then it picks him up again when he makes that right onto Vermont, and he zips by the clinic, and I don't see him again. Now, for some reason, I just had this feeling that he was going to come back. So I'm actually sitting in my car again, kind of halfway in, halfway out. My body camera is rolling. So, and according to the video camera, again, he came back within 1 minute and 45 seconds. That means he left and went away and decided, you know what? No, I'm going to go back there for whatever reason. And so then my body camera picks up from the time that I leave my vehicle to see if there's a problem. But again, he is going so fast to the parking lot that I have to step out of the way and go on his passenger side, or he would have hit me.
A couple of things before we move on here, because I just kind of want to paint the picture for anybody so they can kind of understand the layout of this place. Yeah. There's the parking, kind of the driveway in the front with some parking on either side.
Right.
It's very narrow.
It is.
We came here today and we're kind of with you while you were on duty and watched you kind of doing your normal course of duty.
Right.
And a couple of things I noticed. First of all, when any car pulls into that driveway, you immediately go up and you say, hey, how can I help you? You know, welcome, you know, how can I help you?
Exactly.
Where can I direct you to? Mm-hmm. And that's understandable. This is a preschool.
Yeah.
You don't want just anybody driving up and coming in here.
Yep.
And then second of all, really to see it in person, and we'll try to do it justice with the shots that we got today. But really, to see it in person, you can see how narrow that is. So when he drove that car at you, there wasn't much space there.
No, there wasn't. So I got out of the way, and then he goes back to the exit. He takes another right on the Southwest Capitol. Then he takes the right onto Vermont. And then I don't know if he missed our driveway, because the driveway for the school and the driveway for the back lot of the clinic, which is the employee portion of it, that's where the employees park. He took a right down their parking lot. Now, if you know the area, it is a dead end. So I knew that he couldn't leave.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
It's not just a dead end. It's a dead end. And where is that dead end at?
That dead end runs right into the gate to get into the preschool playground. And the gate for that is not as high as the fence, so it is easily scaled, and somebody can hop over into the playground. And I would not know that because I'm out front. So until one of the teachers said something, I wouldn't know anybody was in here.
I want to go back a little bit. I really want to get in detail here so people can understand the mentality that you were in when you went over and this confrontation happened. So it looked to me on the video that you had to quickly move out of the way when he drove that car at you when he passed it the second time.
Yeah.
It looked pretty clear to me that he was trying to hit you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way I can interpret that. You're right in front of him. Your body camera turns. You can see him coming directly at you.
Yep.
There's no argument he didn't see you.
No, exactly.
It looked like he was attempting to run you over with the vehicle.
Yeah.
So now you know the guy's dangerous.
Yep.
Now you know he's driving around in the same circle. Were you in fear for your life at that point? What were you thinking?
Not at that point. All I know is my first directive here is I'm specifically here for the protection of the staff and the kids. That is why I'm armed. And that is my first directive. So I've got to make sure that I'm aware of everything that's going on around me, so that way I can provide the best security for the kids and the staff and any visitors that are here. So then my second directive would be to observe and report. Okay? I observed a gentleman, I didn't even know who it was, the driver, because I didn't see anybody driving, so I didn't know if it was male or female. So this person in this car had come through twice, very aggressive, and then he went to the parking lot next door that we go ahead and share. There's about an 8 or 9 feet gap between our fence line and then their driveway. So he takes that right into the driveway next door. And so I'm like, okay, I need to get his license plate number. I need to get a make and model of the car. And because I have no idea who's driving, I need to get a description of the individual. Because if he gets away, I can sit there and give all the information for license plate and make and model of the car, but I would not be able to 100% say, yeah, that's the person. So I have to do that. I mean, I know that's what I need to do. So my body camera shows, and the school video shows from the part that after I move out of the way and he exits, and then he goes to the clinic's parking lot. I calmly walk down our driveway. I calmly walk across the little short sidewalk, and then I calmly walk up the driveway. I'm not angry. I'm not yelling. I'm not telling him anything. My firearm is in its holster. My pepper spray is in its holster. I am presenting a clear sign that I am not aggressive, that I am not a threat, because I understand that security is limited on what it can and cannot do. So I have to present a very non-threatening, non-aggressive way. So as I get closer to his vehicle, you can see or you can hear in my body camera, I am repeating his license plate number. Reason one, it's easier to hear it when I got to phone that information in than to try to look on my little screen and pause it at the exact same time. So I was going to do the exact same thing when I got closer to the car about what make and model it was. And then, of course, the description of the individual that was driving. So as I get closer and I am saying the driver's license and I'm about ready to let my body camera know make and model of the car, this individual, who turned out to be a male, comes out and he charges me. Now, when I'm walking over there, the adrenaline level I have is nothing. I'm not in danger. I'm not in fear. My body posture, my hands are at my side. And when he comes out of his car, my hands automatically go up because I see his fist clenched. So I know that he can swing at me. And so if my hands are up, I'm going to be able to block those a little bit easier. I see his facial expression, his body language. He was very stiff. So it's one of those things that he then becomes, he gets closer to me, and based on his vocabulary, he's angry. I mean, he is raging because he is using, what's your fucking problem? And I'm just saying, what's your problem? I'm not aggressive. I'm not threatening. He comes at me. I put my hands up to keep distance between us. That's why my hands are there. But he is so enraged and his adrenaline level is so high that, of course, he breaks that. And so it goes up around his neck. But you don't see me do this. You don't see me choke him. So he easily takes me to the ground. There is a 20-year age gap. He's younger. I'm 20 years older. His physique was much more muscular than myself. And based on those two things, and then his adrenaline level and his rage, I really didn't stand a chance. So he gets me to the ground, and he's on top of me in a dominant position, and I am trying everything I can think of, non-lethal, less lethal, to get him off. But when you have body armor on, it is great for stopping bullets, but it does restrict your arm movement a little bit, especially when you have somebody that's sitting on top of you. It's like taking a blanket and then just kind of hugging it. So your arms aren't able to extend, out like if I was this way. So I eventually do go to choke him to get him off, but again, the height difference, and all he had to do was lean back, and I lost the grip. And so as we're struggling and he's continually just strangling me, I know I'm going to lose consciousness here. And I need to make a decision and make a decision quick. Because if I go unconscious or die from asphyxiation, if I do that, he's got access to my firearm, he's got access to my extra magazines, and he does have access to the keys to the school here. So he would easily be able to, and I'd hate to think what could happen. Mm-hmm. So I made the decision that I need to pull my weapon. Now, if you watch the body camera footage, I pull my weapon, it enrages him even more, and he's constantly telling me, shoot me, you ain't nothing, you can't do anything. So he's basically taunting me and telling me to discharge my weapon. I don't want to do it, and I give him time even after I draw my weapon for him to get off me and surrender. And he doesn't. He just enrages him more. And so I have to make that determination right there before I pass out and I lose my life. And then who knows what happens after that. I have to fire one shot into his abdomen.
Well, couldn't you have just shot him in the leg, or maybe in the shoulder, or somewhere that wouldn't have killed him?
The back of the clinic where he parked had direct access to the preschool playground.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have easily cleared that wall.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what the public response would be if the armed security guard, whose job it was to protect those children, said, I can't step physically foot in that parking lot because there's another parking lot between me and that gate? There would be outrage right now.
As you're sitting here today, would you walk across the driveway and go and try to get that license plate number again if the exact same thing happened?